Hello, good afternoon, and welcome to another edition of the Young Voices Forum. This program is brought to you by Savannah Signatures in collaboration with the Ghana SRHR Alliance and supported by Gabby's Home Beauty Parlor, Simavi, SGS Ghana, and the Ghana Alliance for SRHR Alliance for Young People. Today, our conversation is going to center around child labor and with focus on street hawking. We are trying to find out if it is an issue of child labor or not, and if it is, the effects it has on children. And I have someone with me in the studio to join me do the discussion. I'll just move straight to the person so he introduces himself, where he's coming from, and then we get into the discussion. Welcome, sir.
Thank you. Good afternoon to your cherished listeners. Inosa Idrisu is my name. I work for Commission on Human Rights and Administrative Justice here in Tamale as one of the investigators as well as a public education officer.
Okay. Then welcome, Mr. Inosa.
Thank you, my sister.
So today we are talking about street hawking, and it's like when it comes to, we see that a majority of the people that indulge in the street hawking are people we want to classify as children. I'm very sure that you see it, I see it. We want to find out today if it is a child labor issue. What's your take on that? Street hawking being a child labor issue?
Thank you very much. Before I proceed to the question, maybe we need to situate the discussion on the type of people we are talking about. We are talking about children. Yeah. And I think in Ghana, we have classification for people we call children.
Yeah.
I think in the 20th November 1989, the United Nations adopted a convention, and that was purposely for children. And that is what we call the UN Convention on the Rights of the Child. And Article 1 of that particular convention actually classifies a person below the age of 18 years to be a child. Then in 1992, when Ghana was actually coming out with its constitution, Article 20, Clause 5 of the 1992 Constitution also classified a person below the age of 18 years to be a child. And then in 1990, when Ghana attempted, or Ghana, after adopting the UN Convention on the Rights of the Child, also came out with an act, and that act is specifically for children. That is what we call Children's Act. That is Act 560 of 1990. And then that particular act actually, in one of its sections, that is Section 1, also classify a person below the age of 18 years to be a child. Now coming to the question whether street hawking can be considered to be child labor, then let us look at what we call child labor.
Yeah.
Yes. The ILO, that is International Labour Organization, in its attempt to define what child labor, they indicated that any work that deprives the child of his or her childhood potential or dignity, or the work that is harmful to the physical, psychological, spiritual, and mental development of the child, or the work that actually deprives the child the opportunity to attend school, or makes the child leave school prematurely, or try to combine schooling with excessive, long, and heavy work. Then, looking at this particular definition, I mentioned that Ghana actually came out with a law that was actually specifically meant for children. In actual fact, that law was passed in 1998. That's the Children's Act in 1998. It also tries to classify type of work that we consider to be exploitative. And then it goes ahead to define work that is exploitative, to include work that deprives the child of his health, his education, and development. Now, combining this definition to the definition of the ILO, you will realize that whether street hawking deprives the child of his health, whether street hawking deprives the child of his psychological, physical, and mental development, whether street hawking deprives the child of his or her education, then the work was even classified looking at the Children's Act, because I just told you what is exploitative labor. But then the Children's Act moved ahead to define what is hazardous work. And street hawking is classified to be hazardous work because they consider the type of work that is dangerous to the safety, health, and development of the child. So now, street hawking, whether the type of load the child is carrying is dangerous to the child's health. You and I know those on the street, you see them, I see them.
Yeah.
Some of them, they cut heavy loads, and it actually will result in what we call a child will have tainted growth. The child will not grow. And the work is done during schooling hours. It means that these children do not go to school. Then this work is done in the cities and town centers, exposing these children to danger and hazard. Some of them cross roads or cross streets haphazardly because they don't know whether maybe this is the time for me to cross, this is the time not for me to cross. And some of them, they run after moving vehicles in order to be able to sell their wares. So it tells you and I that the act is actually dangerous to the safety and health of the children. And it also actually deprives this category of children their right to dignity, because if you not go to school, you won't be able to be assertive. I think you and I, we are here because we have been able to go to school. If you were not, maybe you didn't go to school, I guess by now you would have been an old lady somewhere. And then when me sitting here talking, I would also be maybe a farmer somewhere doing my farm work, because I know my village we do farming, and so I would have been there doing my farming. I would not have that opportunity to come here to talk about this particular issue. So, thankful to education. So, street hawking is classified to be child labor, and in fact, worst forms of child labor. And so that is what I want to say for now. Okay. And then you realize that the Children's Act also then classify certain work that we call light work. And so that light work, they consider it to be work that will not be dangerous, or it will not deprive the child his education. It will not be dangerous to the physical development of the child. It will not be dangerous to the health of the child. And so it means that there are certain category of work that a child will do that will form part of his socialization, that will also help to integrate the child into the larger community. So that type of work is not child labor, because if we don't maybe explain these things.
I was actually commenting.
Yes, if we don't explain these things, people say that, oh, you people are saying that children should not work, children. No, we are looking at the type of work, the hour of work, and what the child is engaged in, whether it is detrimental to the holistic development of the child. And when we talk about holistic development, we are looking at the child spiritual, the child psychological, the child social development, whether the child is exposed to opportunities that will help the child and help his or her potential. So these are the things we are looking at. So if a child is left to hawk on the street, it means that this category of child will not see, or the child doesn't go to school. You know, and the child, since the child does not go to school, the health of the child is in danger. The development of the child is in danger, and all these things bring about what? The retardation of that particular child, and therefore the child wouldn't be able to what? Unearth his childhood potential.
Okay, so Mr. Inusa, so assuming my mom or my dad has a store, then I go to school and then close from school. Let's say I go to school between the hours of 7 a.m. to 3 p.m. And then I come back home and then I go to the market to help my parents to, sell at the markets and maybe take some of the wares and hawk around the market with it. Is that one still considered as child labor?
So I think my definition set out certain parameters.
Yeah.
And then we should look at those parameters and marry it to the question that you have asked.
Yeah.
Once the child will be exposed to danger, when the child picks the wares, whether the child will be hawking it on the streets. You understand that? And then where you even sell, whether the child will be exposed to other moral hazards. When we talk about moral hazards, for instance, your store is by a brooder. Your store is by where they sell alcohol. Your store is by where people smoke ganja. You understand that? You shouldn't expose your child to those dangerous environment. Exposing that child to that dangerous environment, it stands the chance to affect the child moral development. But if it's like it is a kiosk by your house, the child closes for school and the child comes to sit in the kiosk, and when somebody comes to buy pure water, the child goes to sell that pure water to that person. That is not what child labor. However, if it is done within certain time, because the Children's Act tells us that we should not engage children at night work. And that night work, they say the night work is between the hours of 7 to 6, 7 p.m. to 6 a.m. So if even at your kiosk, where the child comes to sit and sell pure water, and you make the child to sell that pure water to maybe 8, 9, 10 p.m. at night, it means that that child is engaged in child labor. So the time matters, because if the child does not get enough sleep, the child goes to school tomorrow and the child will be sleeping. It means that what we define to include depriving that child his or her right to access education, it will affect it will come to play. So that is why the Children's Act says that no, when we're going to engage that child, look at the age of the child. The Children's Act provided that the night work should be done within the age of 13 years. When the child is 13 years, you can engage that child in light work. And I told you what light work is. Yeah. That will not be dangerous to the health, to the development, and to the education of the child. And so that is what we call light work. But any work that you will engage that child, that of course will be dangerous to these things, then that is child labor.
Okay. So does the law provide any form of protection for children who are abused through child labor or okay?
Yes. Even what I have just told you, that section begins with what? It prohibits exploitative labor. The law prohibits that act to engage a child in any act that will affect the child's holistic development, that will affect the child's education, that will affect the child's health. And so the law prohibits that. The law also prohibits engaging children to work at night. And then when you look at parental duties and responsibilities, the act provided for the parent to ensure, to protect that child against abuse, to protect that child against discrimination, to protect that child against violence, to protect that child against exposure to hazardous acts. It can be physical, moral, or any other form. And so, if you are a parent who has been given this particular duty to ensure that your child is protected against what? Moral hazard. Your child is protected against what? Physical hazard. Then you take that child to market. And where you sell your wares, that is where it is alcohol. They sell alcohol, or maybe it is a bar where you sell alcohol, a whole lot of people come to patronize in that particular bar. Then you take your child there. It means that you are exposing this child to moral hazard. You are exposing this child to any other form that the child stands to what? It will affect the child in future. Of course, if you are a parent, that the law actually gives you this mandate to ensure that your child is protected against this thing, and you refuse and do it, there are penalties to that. I think we will come to that.
Yes.
There are
we will come to that. Okay, so if you just joined us, this is the Young Voices Forum, and this program is brought to you by Savannah Signatures in collaboration with the Ghana SRHR Alliance, and it is supported by Gabby's Beauty Parlor, Simavi, SGS Ghana, and the Ghana SRHR Alliance for young people. And our topic of discussion today is street hawking, an issue of child labor or not, and we are also looking at the effects it has on children. So if you just joined us, you can leave your questions and your comments in the comment section, or even your contribution. I would read them out later on. I have Mr. Imsa in the studios to help me do the discussion. So Mr. Imsa, I've been thinking, is it that children, is it that parents do not know about this, that the law prohibits street hawking or these forms of child labor? Is it that parents have no knowledge, and is that as a result of there being no sensitization or something? Because I feel like if people know that it's a crime against children, why do we have it in excess like that?
Yes, there are certain factors that actually drive this offense. In fact, this part of the world, people think that children should work to help raise income for the family. And for that matter, no matter any form of sensitization that you happen to have done, they will still see that no, this thing we can't do because that just comes to help me. That's why maybe if you go to the village, they say, yes, I give birth to plenty children so that they will help me to farm. You see that?
Yeah.
That is the mentality. So you cannot see that because of lack of education. Of course, I think Commission on Human Rights as well as civil society organizations have done a lot of publication, a lot of promotional activities that actually seeks to educate the general public about the rights of children. And child labor has been actually dealt with extensively. But like I indicated, because it is part of the way we believe, the way we see children, that is why these things are happening. And then of course, one other aspect has to do with some of our state agencies that has been mandated to ensure that these things are actually in the bag. For instance, the Children Act provided for the institution of child panels. The child panels are going to be manned or are supposed to be manned by the district assemblies. And the panel composition include community members and some of the stakeholders who actually have a stake in children issues. However, these child panels, because it doesn't bring votes, politicians do not see it to be anything. Yeah. You go to most of the district assemblies and the child panels are not in place. And the role of these child panels are supposed to do research in the communities to see whether children issues are there, protection issues like child labor, questions of child abuses, and what have you, whether they exist in the communities, and if they exist, what do they do? In fact, the child panels are supposed to even seek to ensure that they bring parents and punish parents. But these things, we don't have them. So in one brief, I can say that it has to do with the way the law is being implemented. And the other thing also has to do with how we look at children, because children are seen to be, a lot of parents see children to be maybe part of they are, should I say, they are supposed to generate income to support the family.
Yeah.
And then you even see that some children will have to even work to pay their own school fees.
Yeah.
Some children will have to even work to be able to get certain dresses, or they have to even work to put food on the table. And this thing happens. So in one brief, we can say that we have the issue of what poverty driving it. But
yeah.
if you understand issues, if you know that a child is something that God has given to you, and what God has given to you, you have to hold it in trust. You have to actually develop that particular thing that God has given to you. You will not allow that child to go hawking. And when the child go hawking, it means that tomorrow, if the child wants to become the medical doctor, the child wants to be a president, the child wants to be an MP, the child wants to be a nurse, that child wouldn't be able to do that. And then it has an impact on our human resource base in the country. And it affects us because when we go to our communities, we do not have nurses, we do not have teachers, we don't even have medical assistants to man our clinics as well as cheap compounds. These things should be something that concerns every parent. If you actually give the child the opportunity, the child will be able to what? To attain certain things that he or she will come back to develop the community, to develop the what? Not even the family. The child will develop the community. So we should be looking at the general impact of this one and what will start to benefit if we allow children to go to school, if we allow children to develop their potentials, if we allow children to develop skills that will actually generate income to the society and Ghana at large.
Okay, so at this point I am giving out my first airtime. You know how we do it. I always, with me, it's always Christmas every Friday. So I'm giving out my first airtime, which is Airtel Tigo, and this is 4 fastest fingers. So if you get it, please do indicate it in the comment sections that you have gotten it. And the numbers are as follows: 40 60 33 81 00 61 34 77. I repeat, 40 60 33 81 00 61 34 77. This is Airtel Tigo. If you get it, do indicate it in the comment section. You can also keep your questions and contributions coming in the comment section. We are discussing street hawking in relation to child labor and the effects it has on children. So share this video as much as you can so that other people can participate in the discussion. So Mr. Imsa, what can be done to parents or guardians who allow children under their care to engage in street hawking?
Yes, the Children Act provided punitive measures against parents who engage or allow their children to engage in street hawking or allow their children to engage in child labor. In fact, the punishment range between 1,000 Ghana cedis to 2 years imprisonment, or you pay and go to prison, both. So if maybe you allow your child to engage in street hawking, you allow your child to engage in child labor, or you yourself engage that child in child labor, it means that this is the punishment that will be meted out to you. You will pay 1,000 Ghana cedis and then go to prison for 2 years, or you go to prison 2 years and then or you pay the 1,000 Ghana cedis. But you see, one problem we have with this thing has to do with these issues are human rights issues.
Okay.
And then because of the nature we live in a society, you will not actually want to report your auntie. You will not want to report your uncle. And so since you will not report your uncle, the issues are happening and there are no checks, and so that people are not punished to serve as deterrent. And then the issue also has to do, the child himself or herself wouldn't be able to come to me complain. Coming from the human rights perspective, where I am coming, I know that Commission on Human Rights in their protective arm can only investigate complaints of violation of fundamental human rights when there is an identifiable complainant. It means that somebody must appear before the commission to make a complaint that Mr. ABCD has engaged his son or his daughter into ABCD, and based on that, the commission can proceed to make that investigation. Commission cannot initiate a suo motu complaint and investigate same because our act does not permit us to do that. So that is one brief. I think what the commission will only do as part of its research, because every year we go around communities, we go around schools, we go around health institutions to actually monitor to see certain things, whether the state in signing in some of the international conventions and whether the state has put in place measures to ensure the realization of people are actually getting benefit of those conventions. You know that currently Ghana is actually working on universal health coverage, and that talks about access. So that access, it means that access will have to do with what? Affordability. Access will have to do with what? Availability. Access will have to do with what? The quality of service. And so now, looking at the issue of availability or affordability, whether the citizen can be able to what? Access healthcare, whether you have money or not, and what happens to the what? The less privileged, whether they can also access healthcare. And so, because of certain policies Ghana has put in place, the Commission will normally monitor those policies annually to see how those policies are affecting the lives of the general public. So when that is, when we do that, it only forms part of our what? Our public education issues, promotion activities. But that cannot trigger investigations, because if it is human rights, it means that somebody must come to complain. And so that is why these issues happen, and then we don't actually get people punished. Last 2 months, I had a call from one guy from Germany, and then what was his issue? That they have banned begging either in Nigeria or Mali or so. That was what he was saying, and because of that, persons with disability, those who cannot work, and then they normally come with small children, and they will lead them around Tamale to beg. So these children are engaged in child labor, because this thing happens during schooling hours, even though we are now faced with COVID. But that is not to say that the period they are engaged in this act is not schooling hours. So these children are engaged in schooling hours. And so what I did was to call the police, whether we can actually go in to rescue these children. But the question that comes to that came was, if we even take these children, where are we going to put them? You see that? That was where the DOPSI coordinator, I called the DOPSI coordinator, and I called social welfare officer. What do we do? Then these are the things. So the thing is that...
So would you say that the government is not doing its part to ensure that child labor is kept? Because right now, when these things are happening, and then I come to report that, oh, my neighbor or someone who lives close to me is actually engaging in child labor, this and that, and then it stands that you have to take the kid from the person he or she is with. What then I would do with such a child?
The scenario you are putting, if it is within Ghana, you see that currently we are discouraging putting children in institutions. So what we will only do...
Why are we discouraging putting children in institutions?
It appears when children are put in institutions and we try to integrate them to society, there's a problem. People look at them to be some sort of... so it is better the children within the communities, and then that is why when Ghana was developing the child and family welfare policy, they were actually looking at children to come from a family, a community, and an entire society, so that you will look within the family who is capable to take care of this particular child. Then you can place that child under the custody of such a person, and then your investigation can go on if it's within Ghana. But what I put across was, we are going to pick children and send them across to Mali. So it means that it will take time. We have to involve immigration service and what have you. And then this COVID time, no country will accept their national when you do not show proof of their COVID status. And so it means that we will have to do all these things before these children can be transported back to their country. So that is it. But in Ghana, if you come to report such an issue, that one is simple, because you know the family, you know the community where the child is coming. The child can easily be placed under somebody's care, while the investigation kickstart, or we do the investigation and do the prosecution. So that one would not be a problem. Our problem just has to do with people not coming to report, and the child himself or herself will not come to report. You understand that? So we are encouraging people to report this conduct of parents or caregivers, because these children are under your care and they are at the stage of development. And developing means you have to give them the exposure so that they will be able to develop themselves holistically. If you don't give them that exposure, it means that you are restricting them. And when you restrict them, you are violating their rights. And so these things need to come. But that other issue, that one has to do with sending children across national frontiers, and that was the problem we encountered.
Okay, yeah. So talking about reporting, would you say that the law puts responsibilities on communities to report people who engage their children in hawking, or institutions have a way of tracking down these issues?
Yes, I think in the course of my discussion, I mentioned a policy Ghana put in place. There was it started from 2010, and I think they started operationalizing it beginning from 2015 thereabout. And that policy look at a child to come from a community, to come from a family, to come from a community, and then to come from a society. And that in dealing with children, we shouldn't look at a child alone. We should look at a child to come from these units. And when we are actually dealing with issues, we should actually involve all these category of structures, so that the child will know that he's coming from a family, he's coming from a unit. So institutions, families, community leaders, they have a duty. They have a duty towards the child, because a child is not just for the parents alone. The child is for the community. The child is for if you are doing good, your community. Oh, don't you know that is our daughter? In fact, he's coming from this. He's coming from that. When ex-president Mama was a president, he's our man. He's a northerner. He's this. Not so. The vice president. Oh, he's this. Assuming they were bad people, nobody will want to associate it. You understand that? So the child comes from the family. The child comes from a community, and the community members. The family has a duty towards the child. And then with the child and family welfare policy, they look at certain things that the families can do, the community can do. And even that particular policy came along with the juvenile justice policy. And so that juvenile justice policy also talks about children who are in conflict with law, or children who are in contact with law. So those in contact with law are those who are victims of abuses. And so the victims of abuses, they are the people looking at the gravity of the offense, then whether the family can manage it, or the family will need to involve an external party to assist in managing the issue. And so with all these things, families need to know their roles, community members need to know their roles, and the entire society need to know their role towards a child, because you have to ensure that this child grow up in a protective environment, and then the children also attend schools. All these children, we see hawking. When you trace their backgrounds, they are removed from school and sent to the streets. So, as a teacher, as a head teacher, you have to investigate to know why your student is no longer attending school. You have to know why the child comes to school and sleep. You have to know why the child doesn't even want to partake in certain things. I remember I was doing a community program in one of the communities in the region, and the community members told us that we have a problem, and the problem has to do with children. They will go out, they just dress as if they are going to school, and when they move out, they just remove the uniform and come to cities to drive yellow. So to drive yellow, so you ask yourself, in order to drive yellow, whether you are licensed to do that.
Yeah.
You understand that? Whether you are licensed to do that. If you are not licensed to do, and you know that the DVLA will not license somebody below the age of 18 years to drive yellow.
Yeah.
So if we see this, what is the Metropolitan Assembly doing? What is the police doing? Because these things they drive this yellow in the full glare of this community member, in the full glare of this security agency. Yeah. What do? They need to actually intervene to ensure that these things are stopped. Because if we don't allow the children to do that, and then you will even bought the yellow and he ran to teach, you can't hold this child responsible. Do you understand that? Yeah. If maybe those children are below even 12 years or they are 12 years, they are not up to legal responsibility. You know, if a child below 12 years commits serious crime, the child will go scot-free. He's not legal responsible, he's not liable, he's not responsible. Do you understand that? And so if we allow these people to drive yellows, and then they cause problems for us, we cannot actually prosecute these people. And so the town authorities, they have a duty towards these children. And then I already told you, if the child partners were working actively, their research within the communities would have reviewed or unearthed all these things for these things to be addressed. But the child partners are not working. So we need to make sure that in actually coming out with a law, they look at what will be the best interest of the child. And these things need to be done in order to guarantee the best interest of the child. So if the child partners are working, it means that they'll be able to check who is this particular parent who is allowing his child to go drive yellow. Who is this parent who is allowing his child to go follow cattle? Who is this parent who is allowing his child to go follow animals or to go crack these stones and what have you? You understand? Yeah. And so they will be able to handle these things, and then we will not see it in the communities. But then we all sit down, these things are not being done, and then currently with the formation of with the coming of this family welfare policy, we are now trying to rule out community child protection committees. Community child protection committee, unless the law, the Children's Act is reviewed to give them legal mandate, they may be operating outside without any backing. Yeah. You understand that? The only a structure that has the backing to operate at the community is the child partners. The child partners. So we have to ensure that these child partner systems operate. So that is what I can say for now.
All right. Okay, so if you just joined us, this is the Young Voices Forum, and we are discussing street hawking with regards to child labor and the effects it has on children. I'm giving out my second airtime, which is MTN. And if you are watching me, this is Fastest Fingers, so if you get it, do indicate it in the comment section. And the numbers are as follows: 8658 62 17 43 94 11 8658 62 17 43 94 11. You can also keep bringing your contributions and your questions in the comment section, and we'll try as much as possible to be able to answer them for you. We have a few minutes more to go, and I'm hoping that you can join us for us to actually finish this in style. So, Mr. Enusa, what does SHRAJ do in regards to street hawking as an issue of child labor?
I told you, SHRAJ, as part of our mandate to ensure the realization of fundamental human rights and freedoms of the citizens, we do a promotion. The promotion is to educate people to understand the fundamental rights of these children, and then also encourage parents not to allow their children to engage in these activities. Then, not only that, SHRAJ, as part of our work, also go to the communities to actually research what I told you, to understand the child protection issues in the communities. So when you understand the particular child protection issue, it varies from community to community. You go to a community, the children are engaged in fishing. You go to a community, the children are engaged in cattle rearing. You go to a community, the children are allowed to come to the cities to hawk. You understand that? And so understanding the issues and then the driving factors, then you now put in place a publication programs to ensure that people understand the dangers involved in allowing their children to do these things. And then a few cases that come before us, we also investigate. So like I indicated, those few cases, before even it starts, it will start from a child neglect, where the child does not have the parents do not take care of the child, and the child is actually looking for maintenance. The child is looking for protection. The child is looking for shelter. The child is looking for whether the parent will be able to enroll him or her in school. So these things comes. So when it comes, then you invite the parents and get these things settled. The other issue of the law has to do with, I told you the punishment. The punishment may be fine or custodian sentences. And custodian sentences, you are talking about a parent who is taking care of this child, who is supposed to take care of this child. So sometimes you engage the parent then understand that, yes, this is what I need to do. For instance, I went to Lamashako to do a publication. It was in a school. And then I saw one girl sleeping. She was sleeping. She slept throughout the program. So after the program, I called her out. And then I wanted to know, do you stay with your mom or your auntie? Oh, the girl said, I stay with my auntie. That's okay. Also, what work do you do after school? Then she said, we fry meat and sell it. So I asked, so what time do you sell the meat? But also sometimes we can even sell up to 10 to 11 o'clock. So now you understand that it is because of this thing that is making her come to school and sleep. So what I did was that I had discussion with the headmaster, and then he fixed a day. We went and met the parent, the auntie of that girl, and then we talked to her. And so the headmaster told me that the child subsequently was not engaged, was not sleeping whenever she comes to school. So these are some of the things. When you go out to do education, or to engage the community, or to engage the schools, to engage the school children, you have to observe. If you are very observant, you will be able to detect the issues without being reported to you. You understand that? So if you are able to observe and very conscious of some of these things, you will be able to address them as you do your education. But then, if you are the type who just come to talk and go away, these things may be just presenting itself and you may not actually even know. So, in fact, I also want to encourage caregivers as well as even civil society organizations. And some of you go to the communities, you go to where some of the state agencies cannot even reach. And so when you get there, these issues are there. So they are eminent. You need to even assist these children to report the issues. You understand? It doesn't matter whether the report is coming from a family member, it's coming from a community member, or who. The report must come. And when the report comes, you are saving a life. You are saving somebody, and you are also building Ghana, because you are helping to what? To ensure that our human resource base is built. And in fact, we have been able to ensure that somebody, child potential has been tapped, and that can be developed for the benefit of the entire Ghana.
Okay. So I'm getting a comment on my Facebook feed. Okay, so Bella, I think Bella got one of the airtime. Thank you very much, Bella, for acknowledging that these days people don't do. But all the time when I check, so airtime has been used, and still people don't acknowledge receiving it. So thank you very much, Bella, for acknowledging it. It's still the Young Voices Forum, and we are still discussing street walking with regards to child labor and the effects it has on children. So now we have a few minutes more to go. Mr. Yunusa, what are some of the effects this street walking has on these kids?
Let's pick them one after the other.
Yeah.
Let's look at the health-wise.
Yeah.
The health-wise, this street walking. Do you know that some of these children even sleep there? So, when they are exposed to these dangerous activities, I told you some of them run after moving vehicles to sell their wares. Some of them cross roads unconsciously, because maybe this particular child, even for the whole day, he or she has not gotten something to eat, and the child is carrying a load to cross road. The child will not be conscious of the moving vehicle, and the child can run into moving vehicle. That will affect the child's life. The vehicle can crash the child, and the child will lose his or her life. That is one aspect. And then I told you that these children are not allowed to go to school. So since they are not allowed to go to school, their potentials are not being developed. And these children will live in vicious cycle of poverty, because they will not be able to do any meaningful work. In fact, even to do security work these days, you need to go to school. To drive vehicles, you need to go to school. To be able to do effective farming, you need to go to school. So if even to do business, you need to go to school. If you do not go to school, you will not be able to understand what you need to do to be able to strategize to keep your business moving. And that is why people will raise money, invest heavily in their business, and within one year or two, they collapse, because they don't have the strategy to move the business. So you need to have education. You need to have some sort of knowledge to be able to run this thing. And so if you deprive that child this particular potential, it means that you have collapsed the child's future. And then I told you that we still lack teachers in our communities. We still lack nurses in our communities. Yeah. We still lack medical doctors in our community. Even town centers. Let me tell you, the 5 northern regions, yeah, we do not have a psychiatric doctor. And then studies indicate that 1 out of 4 people sitting down, 1 person is suffering from mental disorder. But we do not have a psychiatrist to attend to these conditions. So it tells us that we still need a lot of things in our society to develop. And so if we don't actually encourage our children to go to school, to get these skills, to get this knowledge, to come back and serve us, we are still going to lag behind. Because you go to the communities, teachers, they send from Tamale to maybe, let me say, Tolong. They leave Tamale and go to Tolong to teach. Yeah. And in the morning, you wake up and you see them by the road to cut the available means to get to Tolong. By the time they get there, that will be around 10, 11, or maybe 12 o'clock. and then within an hour he is there to catch another because if he doesn't come early, he will not be able to get the bus. And so then he will come, and maybe some of them will go there in Mondays, Tuesdays, or maybe Wednesday, and the rest of the days that is for him. And then these children are going to compete with those who have full-time engagement with teachers. The question I normally ask is that if that teacher or the one teaching them is coming from our community, he's the person we have grouped in the community, we send him to school, we make sure that the district assembly sponsor his training college education, then he's sponsored back to the community. The person will live with us, will not go to Tamale, will still be with our children and teach them all the time. And then we look at the nursing situation too. Most of the nurses, sometimes the cheap compounds, you go to some of the cheap compounds, you see only one nurse, and then they are there maybe by Wednesday, Thursday, they will come back to Tamale. Most of the times I ask community members whether we do not force things during weekends. So if you force it during weekends, the nurse is not there to attend to you. Yeah. You understand that? And so if maybe we have that nurse coming from our community, he is with us, he or she is with us, he feels for us. You understand that? And so he will continue to be with us all the days. And when we are sick, the nurse is there to attend to us. Okay. So I think, in fact, the impact is overwhelming. Yeah. And then we need to understand this thing to be able to know that, yes, we need to bring up these children holistically. Then the other issue has to do with exposing the children to moral hazards. Yeah. I think was it last 3 months or so, they posted something, and I think that child was about 7 years or so. He was holding weed. You understand that? He was holding weed. And then when you trade these things, if you are a parent who normally send your child to buy weed, if you are a parent who normally send your child to buy cigarettes, if you are a parent who normally send your child to buy alcohol, you understand that? Back at the villages, the alcohol is not all that rampant, but the pitol is there. Yeah. So if the child goes to buy pitol, come and give to the dad for several, and then maybe the child wants to try and see how pitol tastes. And then we have drunkards. You understand that? Yeah. We have weed smokers. You understand that? We send these small children to go to the chemical sellers to buy chemicals. Then at the end of the day, we have children taking tramadol. We are exposing these children to danger. And then at the end of the day, these children turn back to harm us. We are complaining of issues of insecurity. We are complaining of issues of armed robbers on our roads. And what have you? These armed robbers are people's children. There are children who did not get access to school. There are children who did not get the best training. There are children who did not have that love. Today, they want to come. And if they want to come, how are they going to come? They also come through a means. I'm not justifying their conduct. But then, in one way or the other, some of us will have to be blamed. Yeah. So the society at large has to be blamed. Yeah. You understand that? And so, in fact, the impact of child labor, the impact of not giving the children the opportunity to develop their potential is overwhelming. And then of course, when we are growing old, yeah, and then one day we will leave the scene. People will have to come and take over from us. Who are those coming to take over from us? Are they the street hawkers who are now weed smokers? Are they the tramadol takers? Do you understand that? So this should actually run through our minds. And then in Dagbani, sorry, I wanted to use my Dagbani term. Dagbani, they say that it means that if you are a chief, it is the people that make you the chief. If you turn back and all your subjects are now weed smokers, yeah, all your subjects are now tramadol takers, do you think tomorrow who will come to take over from you as a chief? Yeah. If you are an imam and you don't take care of these things, and then You turn back, and all those who are following you are the weed smokers, are the what? The tramadol takers, who will come to take over from your immersion. If you are the pastor and you are not care of these things, who will come tomorrow to take over from you? So it means that holistically we are all to be blamed, and we have a what a collective responsibility to ensure that these children are protected, so that we will ensure their physical, psychological, and social development, so that tomorrow we can sit down and knock our heads that we still have somebody to come and take from us.
Okay. So, Mr. Inusa, your last words, what would you tell parents and guardians with regards to street hawking, what they should do and what they shouldn't?
Yeah, I think my last word to parents is that, in fact, as parents, you have the duty to protect your children. You have the duty to ensure that you expose the child to education. You have the duty to ensure that you maintain the child. You have the duty to ensure that you don't expose that child to danger. You don't expose that child to moral hazards. You have the duty to ensure that the child is developed for the benefit of the state in which the child is born into. And so, as a parent, all these things, you have that duty to ensure these things are done. Not only the parents, the family members, the community members, our traditional authorities, our religious authorities. I am only encouraging you to understand that we are actually, today's child will be tomorrow's what? Adult. And this child needs our attention, needs our support. We need to have a collective responsibility towards these children, so that tomorrow they will develop to be what? Good citizens. They will develop to take over from us, and we can peacefully say that we have left a peaceful society to another generation who will come and hold on to it peacefully. Thank you.
Okay, so I'm sure that we've all learned a thing or two today by defining who a child is and defining the dangers of street walking. I'm sure that we can all conclude that street walking is a child labor issue if it has to do with someone that the Constitution deems as a child. So we all have a collective responsibility to ensure that street hawking with regards to children becomes a thing of the past. I want to say a very big thank you to everyone for tuning in, and also a very big thank you to Mr. Inusa for taking time off his busy schedules to be here, and also a very big thank you to the production team. They made it possible for us to have our discussion this and every Friday. And also a very thank you to our sponsors, Gabby's Beauty Parlor, Simavi, Savannah Signatures, the SGS Ghana, and the Ghana SRHR Alliance for young people. And I hope to see you next week, same time. My name is Rahel Entry, and I was your host for today. It's bye until next week, Friday.
Thank you.